All right. So we were able to touch a whole lot of amazing things. So one of the things I want you all to understand is, as regards the database, is very, very important in your journey as a cloud engineer. So one thing I want you all to understand is this. I've been exposing you all to a lot of amazing things. I really wish you all can see this. The beautiful thing about this cloud engineering program is it's letting you see that there's a lot of possibilities here. If you have been observant, you will notice that there's a lot of roles embedded in this cloud engineering, right? Let me show you what I mean. Let me reduce this font so that let's reduce this. So one, we have roles like, if you've been observant, most of the things we are doing unconsciously, you're learning how to become a Linux, and you're becoming a Linux and also a system administrator. You're learning the skills of a Linux and system administrator, or what we call operations engineer. Two, you're also learning how to become an IT support engineer. I hope I'm correct with that spelling. Three, you're also learning how to be a database administrator. Four, you're exposed to, let me say, just the basics anyway, but at least to some extent, you're seeing the basic things of a DevOps engineer, the basics. You understand the foundations of a DevOps engineer. Five, you're also learning how to become, I'm not necessarily a software engineer, but at least the foundation, even though we've not written much, at least to some extent, these skills you are learning will help you as a software engineer, right? So in one way or the other, you have, let me use developer instead of engineer. Somebody might ask me the difference, but I mean, people see the engineers as people who know so much, but developers just focus on developing. But the engineers tend to do other things. Okay, they go into security, they go into database, but developers just focus on developing softwares. That's what some definitions people give, but really they're almost the same thing. So in the course of this program, in one way or the other, we've been doing a lot of things around these roles. So by the time you watch all these videos properly, okay, you take your time to practice them again and again. You can decide at the end of the program to delve into any of these parts. I forgot to also put cloud administrator. You understand? Cloud administrator or engineer. Since that's what it is. So the end of this program, you are tilting into one of this paths because the program is exposing you into the many possibilities. If you understand how Linux works, you also understand the roles of a system administrator. Automatically, you also understand IT support engineer. Please, I want to ask, on this call, do we have people with this skill sets so far? On this call, do we have people with this skill sets? I would have also put cybersecurity engineer, but because we're not so heavy on the security side of things, that's why I left it. Do we have anybody with this role, any of this role, or in one way or the other, you have in the course of your career, you have done one or any of this role here? Do we have anybody here on this call? Anybody? Okay, great, great. Thank you. So this is my question, Mr. Prince. Please just confirm. Okay, thank you, Ms. Chamak. Oh, thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Please, I want to ask you, right, from your experience, from what we've done so far, some of the things we've done, does it seem difficult? Like, do you think it's easier with the little you've done? Or let me paraphrase the question. I think there's a background sound.
last week. injection tí wọ́n béèrè àwọn nǹkan tí mo
Mr. Ibrahim, you might want to. He's just joining, so I'm sure he's not aware. All right. So this is my question, right? Okay, software developer, Mustafa. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. So this is what I want to ask you all, guys. Please let me know, right? Do you think with what we've been exposing you all to, right? Do you think it's going to be more easier? Anybody that finished this program and understands it very well, do you think that it's going to be easier for the person to tilt into any of this pathway, this IT parts, these tech fields here? Just yes or no from your experience so far. Okay. So, I mean, that's which means I was not just assuming, you understand? So, friends, if you are just new to the tech field, right, or you're just watching this video and you want to, you are still indecisive, there are a lot of IT roles, a lot of IT paths, you understand, right? So, in the process of becoming a cloud engineer, you're wearing so many hats. Okay, that's why they pay them a lot of money because you're wearing so many hats. You may see yourself doing the same thing some cybersecurity engineers are doing. It might not be all, you might not focus on some compliance and some other security stuff, but the foundation is always the same. Do you understand? So please, I want to encourage you all to take your time and practice as much as possible. The Linux is a great foundation, very, very important, and as well as many other things. Okay, so I felt I should mention that. So one of the important things I want to mention in based on the last class that we had, okay, which has to do with database, I want to write down the role of a database administrator, which is what we call DBA. You understand? Popular responsibilities, okay, common responsibilities of a DBA. I don't know if there's anybody that has occupied the role of a database administrator before. You might agree with me when I'm done writing this. So one of the responsibilities of a database administrator is that his job is to create databases. Okay, this is one of his job. The second responsibility of this person is to perform what we call user management. So let's say perform user management tasks. Number 3 is to perform security and encryption on databases. Number 4 is to perform monitoring. They monitor those databases. Okay, monitoring. Okay, let's just keep it very simple. Number 5, sometimes they perform what we call patches or what we can call performance tuning. You can check it up. Okay, you can come here and just type roles of a DBA. You understand? Responsibilities of a DBA. You can see so many things. What is a DBA? You can check it up here. Or you can check some job descriptions. You understand? You can check some job descriptions and you see a lot of amazing things. You understand? So now, this is the 5th one. The 6th one is they can also perform things like migration. Okay, they can perform things like let's say, okay, they can perform backups. Okay, backups and restoration. When you back up a database, you restore it. Okay, restoration. So let's say depending on the task, okay, let's say they can do clustering too, but there's also what we call stored procedure. There's also things we call creating of tables and views. But let's just call it views, indexing, and stored procedure, SP. Okay, so let me just stop at this 8. So these are some of the job description or responsibilities of a database administrator, friends. In the last class, when we learned about MySQL, a database engine, okay, I told you there are so many of this database engine. Okay, there's PostgreSQL, there's MongoDB, there's MySQL, there's MS SQL, there's Access, there's DB2, IBM DB2, there's Aurora, and many of them. You understand? These are database engines, okay? And as a database administrator, these are some of the roles you can perform on those database. You understand? So in the last class, when we were practicing, we learned how to work with MySQL, okay? I taught you all how to install it, right? And how to do some configuration around it. We moved a step further to learn how to create a database. And that was where I talked about SQL, which was a structure query language, the language we use to talk to a database engine. Okay, it's one of the popular language. There's also PLSQL. There are other languages that talks to databases. I think it's PLSQL if I'm correct, and other ones. Okay, so but SQL is the popular language that we use to talk to databases. Okay, and we were able to perform CRUD operations. Okay, these are the popular operations that you can perform on a database. I explained this in the last class. Okay, we create, and I referred you to to W3 School, a platform where you can see a resource to learn more about these databases. Right now, we created a database in that last class. We created a user and we were able to test it. Okay, today, I want to tell you something. You see all these responsibilities, okay, that you see here. The benefit of cloud computing is this. AWS came up to speed. So because it requires somebody that has 3 to 5 to 10 years experience working with databases to be very skillful and support companies, right? You all know that a lot of companies uses databases from what we covered in the last class. There's rarely any big website you want to think about that does not store their information in a database, right? So you've seen the power of a database. You've seen how you can add record, delete, update the record, and insert record into a table, right? Now, friends, you know that all these are the roles I outlined. Do you understand? So AWS came to the picture. Now, before I touch on this, I want you to imagine something for a while. Please look at this image here. Look at this image. These are users, right? And then they connect to a web application that connects to a database. Is that true? I want to ask a question, then we move on to the hands-on. Friends, please, can you confirm to me, if I want to create a database, what is the first thing or the first two things I should consider? Can you tell me? What is the first thing or the first two things that come to your mind that you will do first? Okay, awesome. Replication, data cleaning, yes, it's also part of it. Although data cleaning tilting towards the analysis side and trying to analyze the data and so on, but it still makes sense. Okay, anybody from the comment section? Anybody? What comes to mind if I ask you to create a database from what we did in the last class? Tell me the first two things you will want to do. Okay, somebody say database name. Okay. Somebody say table. Somebody say type of database. Somebody say choose your software. Okay. Assume that you are talking to a layman that doesn't know anything about IT. Okay. And he had the word database, right? And you want to teach the person how to create a database. What's the first thing you need to consider? What's the first or second thing you need to consider? Somebody say collect your data. Okay. Any other person? We have over 40 persons on this call. Type of data. Okay. Now what you know that okay, you know the database will be hosted somewhere, right? The database will be running somewhere. Is that true? The database will be running on a computer system. Is that true? Please, I hope you all understand that. I, I hope you get the picture. So the database will be running on a computer or on a server, right? So like in the last class, the first thing we did to set up MySQL is to spin up an EC2 instance. You remember, right? When we spun up an EC2 instance, then we went to the terminal, updated the OS, then we typed sudo apt install MySQL-server. That was what we did. Well, if we didn't have the machine, we wouldn't have where to install the database engine. I hope that makes sense. You get the picture, right? So the first thing you need is a server, okay? The machine you need, okay? Now, but the reason why I said the first thing you need is the machine is simply because there's what we call scale, size, right? Please, I want you to have at the back of your mind that if you are considering to build something as huge as Facebook, the type of servers you are using matters a lot, okay? But if you're trying to do something for your simple project, okay? If you're trying to do something for a simple project, maybe just a demo to show on your resume, you don't need to start considering a huge server. You understand? So what am I trying to say? There is something we call clustering. Cluster. Okay. From what I said in the previous classes, right? I told you that a cluster is a collection of servers or collection of computers. Okay. So if I come here right now and type database cluster, okay, and I type images, this is what you're going to see. Did you see machines connected together? Can you see a cluster? This is one node. If I click on this is what you see. You see node. Like this is one machine. A node is also referred to as a machine. Okay, so this is one node. This is another node. This is another node. But they are all connected together. Okay, they are all connected together. So depending on the depending on the type of database you are using, okay, if it's a non-relational database, right, there's something we call sharding. I don't want to go into those things so you don't get confused, okay, but there's a concept of replication. If you watch here, you're going to see, we call it database scaling method, okay. There's what we call replication, there's what we call clustering, okay. But I just want us to understand the simple analogy so that I don't make it complicated. But the reason why I talked about this is because companies, right, when they want to set up a database for their computers, for their businesses, right, they usually consider the type of server computer that can handle this database. And because of that, it's usually very expensive for them. Do you understand? And then cloud service providers like AWS comes into the picture. If you remember our initial example, Chief Abiola's product, okay? So let's assume that the product we are building for Chief Abiola, we needed to connect that product to a database. Do you understand? If we need to connect that product to a database, now the type of database we are using matters a lot, okay? When we want to scale the database. Now, but AWS is saying that don't worry about the type of server you want to use, okay? Sorry if I'm sounding, I pronounce it server, but that's fine. So don't worry about the type of server you're using or server you're using, okay? We will take care of that, okay? So this is what cloud providers are doing. So you see all these responsibilities here, right? Cloud service providers take care of almost all these things. With the introduction of cloud computing, almost all these responsibilities are taken care of. In fact, it will shock you to know that in some huge companies, most people they don't have so much database administrators like they used to have 10, 20, 50 years ago. The number of database administrators have reduced because of cloud computing. Why? Because right now, cloud service providers has services that takes care of almost all these responsibilities that database administrators usually perform. I hope you understand where I'm going to. Okay, so it becomes cheaper for companies instead of paying somebody huge amount of money as a DBA. Cloud service providers take care of all those things for you. You understand? Cloud service providers take care of all those things for you. Please permit me. I think somebody is unmuted, so let me just make sure that everybody's muted. All right. So it takes care of all these responsibilities. So let's go straight to the point so that you can see what I'm referring to. This is what I'm talking about. Okay. This is it. It's called AWS Amazon RDS. Okay. It's called Managed Relational Database. Okay. Managed Relational Database Service. RDS. Managed Relational Database Service. Okay, so AWS is responsible for managing it. Do you understand? They are responsible for managing it. Okay, so let's say you can easily set up, you can operate it and scale the database all in the cloud. So what a typical database administrator used to do, you can, with the help of RDS, click, 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 you'll be able to do it. So you see all those rumors where people say things like AI is going to replace some people. The truth is this, yes and no. Okay, yes, there are some roles it's going to replace, but there are some roles it's not going to replace. So the more skillful you are, the better your chances. Do you understand? So that's one of the benefits of learning cloud engineering. Okay, you tend to be the one responsible for operating this RDS, unlike somebody that traditionally just knows how to use Access and knows how to do the database administrator role. So let's learn how to use this Amazon RDS, because this is AWS database service. Okay, so AWS says they can use this service to help you manage your databases. Okay, I hope this makes sense. So if you're writing any AWS exams and you see this word managed, just know that the responsibility of managing it is in the hands of AWS. Okay, good. Now, there are different ways to do this. I can always click here and click here, databases. Okay, now, if you come here, you're going to see this. Now, I usually prefer this method anyway. Now, don't worry about what you're seeing here. If you're practicing alongside with me, if you're just seeing this, just type RDS here on the search bar, okay? And you should be able to see this. You can click on databases if you're following along to practice. Friends, the next thing we need to do is just to click on this called Create Database, okay? So I'll click on this. Now, this is what you're going to see, all right? It's going to show us a whole lot of things. Now, there are two ways we can create this database. You can use the easy method or the standard method. Popularly, people use the standard method, and I think I will stick to this so that you can understand how it works. The easy one is just to go straight forward. But if you can understand this, you can use this. Okay, so I won't touch anything. I'll just leave it as standard create. Now, I'll scroll down. The next thing we have here is engine options. Do you remember the database engines we talked about? So these are the popular database engine that AWS supports. Okay, so AWS discussed as a cloud service provider, a business-minded company. They went to meet these companies because these databases do not belong to them. This one belongs to Microsoft. This one belongs to IBM. This one belongs to Oracle. This one belongs to this company. This one belongs to Oracle as well. This one is open source. Do you understand? And I think it belongs to somebody. Now, but this Aurora and this one belongs to AWS. And I'm sure that's one of the reasons why they put it at the top. Okay. So if you want to know more about a particular one, you can click on it and then you click on info. Okay. So once you click on info, this is going to appear and you can see what it does. Okay. And then you can see all the capability of that database. I hope that makes sense. So this Aurora is like a combination of Postgres and MySQL combined. Okay. So, but just to reduce the talk, we are going to focus on MySQL. I would have chosen Postgres, but since the last database we used was on MySQL, let's just stick to it so that everybody will be able to understand. Okay. Probably we might touch more than this, or 3 or 4 other ones in the intermediate session. Okay, so I've chosen this MySQL, right? Then I'll scroll down. Notice I didn't touch anything. It's under the MySQL community. Now, this is other options. If you come here and try to toggle this thing. So right now, because there are a lot of things we need to consider. Okay, now this is like an option. If you click here, this is what you have here. Okay, now if you toggle this, you're going to see show versions that supports multi-AZ database cluster. The clustering I talked about, where you can have multiple database machines. Okay, so this is like saying the MySQL version. Remember when we installed MySQL, we checked the version. So this is like saying which of the versions supports this clustering. So you can toggle this to check it. Okay. So we're not focusing on it. So I'll just hide it. All right. So don't tamper with this. You can just leave this. Okay. Or you can choose any version depending on the application. So if you're working with a team, maybe with a DevOps engineer or with a developer, or maybe with let's say a cybersecurity person, or any type of engineer you're working with, and they asked you to set up the database, right? So sometimes there's what we call backward compatibility. There's what we call compatibility, right? You need to confirm from them which version of MySQL or the database engine you need to set up. Okay, so for instance, WordPress has a limit for the type of database version it wants to use. Okay, so you can always choose the version you prefer. Okay, so I'll just leave it at this and I won't tamper anything. I'm just taking my time to explain it to you all. Now I'll scroll down. This is the next thing we have. So this is production. This is development and test environment. This is free tier. So the type of database you want RDS to create for you, is it a type of database you want to use for production? I think I've explained this before, or no. Okay, I think I usually assume that I've said this. I think it's one of my DevOps private class that I explained this. So there's such a thing as environments. Okay, so production is when you want this is it's like an environment or a setup which is designed for immediate access to the customer or end user. But if you're just if you just want to test something, you are still developing. Okay, you're not yet ready. You can use this one. But because we are practicing, we can always use free tier. But you see, it disabled some things. But during production, you want to consider your customers in different region clustering. So you can consider this. Okay, I'm explaining this because I realize that we have tech experts here and we have software developers here, and we also have people that are new into the tech field. So I'm explaining it for different scenarios so that you can always know which to use. Okay, so for this example, I'm just going to choose free tier. Okay, but if you want to choose any of this, you are good to go as well. But just understand that there's cost attached to this if you're not using free tier. Okay, and then the type of cluster you choose or the type of availability or durability you choose should be something you discuss with your developers and your team lead, okay, or your software architects, or what we call is it CIS, not CISO per se. I think there's a name we call it. Forgetting it out. When I remember, I'll let you all know. So this is free tier. So I'm going to choose free tier. Okay. For this example, we'll focus on free tier because I don't want anybody to incur charges. But for my example, I would have chosen this. Okay. And still be able to do it. It's going to work fine for me. But I just want you all to have the same result with me. So I'll scroll down. Now, remember that I said to you that this database, the AWS RDS, it's going to be creating a machine, a server, like an instance for us. You understand? So when I talked about cluster, that's what I mean. In AWS term, this is an instance, okay? And the collection of all this is called a cluster. Okay. So if you watch here, so they're asking you what name do you want to give that instance? Okay. Not EC2 instance now, but DB instance, even though it's almost the same thing, right? So you can give it a name, or we can leave it the way it is. All right. You can give it a name. I will just leave it the way it is. Okay. Because I don't have need to change it. Now, second thing is credential. All right. I'll scroll down. The credential we want to use for the database. Okay. Don't forget this. It is very, 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 very important. Okay. So the username we are setting is called admin. I can use any name. Okay. So you can change this to your name if you want to, but I'll just leave it as admin. Okay. Now, we can also use different kinds of passwords. Okay. We can use something stored in an AWS service called Secret Manager. Okay. Then we choose this option, but we want to keep everything very simple and be the one to manage the password. So this is chosen by default. Okay. And we don't want to auto generate it. We want to enter the password ourselves. So I'll click here and enter a password. Okay. So I've entered a password, even though it's weak, I'm aware, but because of its practice, okay, you know what? I'll just do this. Okay, let's see. Should be the same. Okay, hold on. Master password is invalid. Are you serious? Okay, you know what? Let's do it again. Um, why is it not matching? Am I forgetting it? Okay. Thanks. Give me a few minutes. Stars. Am I making any mistake here? Okay, let's just go. For some, the master password is invalid. Okay, you know what? I think I'm the one doing this. Let's come here. Let's use this. I'll just simply say MySQL 20. Go ahead. You want to say something?
So maybe try clicking info to see maybe there is an information about how to, or maybe some characters to be included or not. Maybe click info.
Okay, let me just try this one. It's just to explain what it is. You understand? So, but I think it's going to be fine because this is exactly what it is. It just needs a strong password, but let's continue. I just copied and pasted it. You see, it's still doing the same thing. Can't contain any of the following symbol. Oh, okay. I think I see the issue here. Can't contain any of the following symbols. And I actually added them. You see, I added @ here. So I'll just remove this now and just use this. Okay. So I think it was my bad. See, it works fine now. All right. So friends, in case you're watching this video, also observe this. Okay. All right. So now that instance we want to use, the configuration, just like we have instance type and the rest of them. Okay. So the capacity of that instance, So you can come here and do some settings for them. Okay, you can click here and choose different instance type. So if you scroll here, you'll see that there are different types of instance. Okay, now, but if you notice, they are all grayed out because I chose free tier. Okay, so this is the instance that is available for free tier. Okay, but if I wanted it to be very fast, I can choose this one, but there are charges applying to it. Okay, but let's leave it the way it is. Okay, good. So let's scroll down. For the storage, we'll just leave everything the way it is. This is the type of storage we want, and this is the size of the storage. We don't want to choose anything more than this. This is the minimum, this is the maximum. Okay, so I'll just leave it the way it is. We're good to go. I think everything is just the way it is. There's no point doing anything. Okay, for now, just leave everything the way it is. All right, for the connectivity, we can actually connect this to an EC2 instance we've already created. Okay, now connect to an EC2 compute resource, or you can say you want to create the what is it called, server, the database only. So we're just going to choose this option. So on your practice, you can play around both of them. Okay, so but we are choosing this one. Don't connect to an EC2 compute resource for now. Okay, we don't want to set up any connection for it. So you can manually set up a connection to a compute resource later. That's the reason why we are choosing this. We can set it up later. Okay, so because of that, I'm not going to touch VPC. I'll leave it as the default. For now, some of you might not know what a VPC is. Because, okay, let's see what happened. In the project, we might, at the end of the program, we might touch it a little bit, okay? But because I want you all to understand it and learn how to draw architectures and the rest, so we might touch it on our project and also in the intermediate class. So, but we are leaving everything the way it is, okay? Now for the subnet group, everything the way it is. I won't create anything, all right? So just scroll down. Now, this is very, very, very important. Very, very important, okay? So this database that you want RDS to create for you, how do you want people to access this database? So do you want people to have do you want it to have public access? Right? You can read this such that anybody can be able to connect to it, or no, or not, either of them. But for this example, I'm going to choose this. And maybe in our next example, I might choose the second one. Okay, so I'll just choose public access for now, so that even you from your end, you can be able to connect to this database. Although following best practice, database is not something you want to expose to the public. I hope that makes sense to everybody. The developers and every other person here will agree with me. It's not something you want to expose to the public. They shouldn't know your IP or even the endpoints. Do you understand? Good. So, but because of this example, I chose yes. Now, for the security group, that's the VPC, I can click on this and say create a new one, okay? Or I can leave it the way it is. I won't tamper anything. But if you get any error from this and you're practicing, you get any error because you left it the way it is, you can click on create new and it will ask you to give it a name. So if I choose this now, you're going to see it will ask me to give the VPC group a name. But I'll just click on this and leave it the way it is. I hope that makes sense to everybody. All right, so I'll scroll down. I won't touch anything. We're good to go. Additional configuration, nothing at this point. Now, can you see, don't forget this port. This is the port. Just like port 22 is required to SSH into a machine, port 3306 is important to access your database. Very important. MySQL, because we're using MySQL database, okay? Other databases have their own port number. Do you understand? I hope this makes sense to everybody. If it was MS SQL, it would have been port 1433. You understand? But we are not touching that. I think Postgres is about 5,000 something or 1,000 something. I'm not sure. So let's continue, please. So I'll just leave this the way it is, except you intend to change the ports, you can. All right, you can tag the resource, but we'll leave everything the way it is. Okay. Now, right now, we are using the password we provided. If you want to put an extra layer for the database, you can use this. You can use IAM. We've learned how IAM work. Is it not true? So you can use IAM policy and the rest to put extra security for the database so that nobody can, unauthorized people will not have access to the database or the RDS. Okay. And you can also use something we call password and Kerberos authentication. You understand? So, but we're leaving this the way it is. Okay. So monitoring, you can also monitor the database. Friends, do you remember all these things I mentioned here? Can you see we are finding all of them here? Security, encryption, creating of database, monitoring, backups, they are all here. That's what I told you. RDS is taking care of all of them. So if you want RDS to be able to monitor your database, it can. All you need to do is to tick this box. You understand? And it can start monitoring it for you. Do you understand? And you can just do a lot of configuration. Okay. So if you come here, you can see extra configurations. But right now, we don't want to do any configurations. So for monitoring, I'll just uncheck this for now. Okay. Now, this is very, very important. Please don't miss this section. Click here. You need to give the database a name. People always mistake this one with this one here at the top here. This master username. Sorry, this database instance name. So this is for the database instance, like the machine. But the other one is the name of the database. Do you understand? This, okay? The database you want it to create for you. What is the name of the database? Okay, good. So we can call it school DB. Okay, if we want to, let's call it school database. Okay. Now, everything will be left. So can you see backup? If you want to configure backup, you can do that, but we don't need it for now. Okay. I told you RDS has all those things. Encryption, we don't need it. Okay. You can enable it just to test it. Okay. But because we're trying to keep things very simple, that's why I'm doing this. Even maintenance, we don't need it for now. But in production, you need all these things. Okay. But just know that the more of these services, the more the costs. Do you understand? Okay. So because if we wanted it to be maintaining it, we can choose this. Okay. Then we can choose a window. What day, what period, what season? Is it every week? You can choose there and it will tell you to choose the duration when you want it to be monitoring and maintaining your database. But we don't want that. So we choose no preference and we want to check this. Okay. Now, deletion protection is people will not be able to delete this by mistake. Do you see that? So people will not be able to delete this by mistake. If I'm correct, it's only the root user that will be able to delete this. Okay, so take note of this. Okay, and know when to enable it. Okay, so that you don't get stuck when you try to delete it and you're unable to. All right. So now this is the estimate. Okay, so but because we are using the free tier, it's going to be free. Okay, because of what we have chosen. I hope this makes sense to everybody. Okay, so I'll scroll down here and just click on create database. All right, so it's creating our database. And if you watch here, whenever it shows you something like this, it's extra features you can add to this database in terms of scaling it. Okay, in terms of scaling, but we don't need this for now. So I'll just click on close, or I can just remove this. Okay, so it's creating our database right now and it's showing us here. Okay, so always check the status to know when it is up. Okay, you can always reload this. Any questions so far, please? Any question from anybody? Any confusion? If the database has its own instance, why do we still need to connect it again to an EC2? Okay, so the EC2 might, in most cases, your application might be running in an EC2 instance. Okay, so you always want to separate the where the database is running from where the application is running. If you remember this illustration we have here, you understand? Can you see this is where the web application is? This is the database, even though it does not show that this is actually on a machine of its own. But in the real world, most persons will tell you sometimes they separate the database away from the web application, so that if an attacker, a cybersecurity person, attacks this web application, this web server, the person doesn't get access to the database. Because if you get access to the database, you've lost important information. You understand? So just is for security best practice. That's why we do that. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Nat. Okay. If we choose free tier, why did it display the estimated cost? So it displays the estimated cost so that you'll be aware that there are charges attached to this. So because we are using free tier, it's not going to charge us as long as we keep staying within the range of what it avails to us. For instance, the database instance size was 20 GB. I left it the way it was. If I had exceeded it, right, and I stayed for a longer time, it might start charging me. Do you understand? So that's why you must always stay within the free tier, limits. Okay, so I'm sure we've been able to do great justice to it. So this takes between 3 to 5 minutes, and that's the reason why I'm talking. So if I click on reload, you see it's still creating it. If you click on reload, it's still creating it. Now you can actually click on this to see more information about it. Okay, but I don't want to do that. It's still creating it, but I'll go back so that if I click on databases, you still see this. For now, I want once it's done so you can see how it displays. So if you scroll here, you can see all the information. Okay, now, friends, so let's practice this together. I want every one of you to try and do this alongside with me. From what we did in the last class, when we created our database, right? We were able to access the database. Do you understand? So if AWS has helped us to create a database on RDS, can you see? Successfully created the database. Did you see that? So it's available. Now, my next question to you is, how do we connect to this database? Anybody? Well, because of time, because we want to save time, I'll just go straight to the point, okay? To save us the time. So we can use different types of clients, okay, to connect to this. It can be an application. It can be a console, like that's a terminal client to connect to it. Popular database clients include dbeaver, includes MySQL-Client, includes Workbench, includes Electron. Let me show you what I mean. If you come here and type SQL Electron, if I'm correct. Okay, see it here. SQL Electron. So this is a very popular lightweight SQL client desktop because this is the database. Okay, this is the database. Let's try and check EC2 and see something. If I type EC2 and I open this, and I click on instances. Friends, can you see this? This is what we have here. Now you will notice that the instance, the database instance, you cannot see it here. So the question is, how can you, where is the instance? So you can't see it here. Okay, so that was why when it was creating the instance, it asked you, do you want to connect it to an EC2 instance or not? But in this case, we said no. So, but I can show you how to connect. So behind the scene, AWS is using their machine to spin up that database. And I can show you how to connect to it. Okay, so this is the database we have right now. So we use clients to connect to it. Please take note of that. Okay, so this is one of the clients you can use. Okay, so you can download the GUI, which looks like this. Okay, this is how it looks like. Or please, anyone you want to use, you can use this one, or you can use the popular MySQL Workbench, MySQL Workbench download. So you can choose this. So when you get to this place and type download MySQL Workbench, so I'll share the links with you all on this call so you can have access to it. Now, there's another one I am using, which is, okay, yeah, I think this is the Workbench I'm using. So if you want to download the Workbench, right, there's also pgadmin if we're using Postgres, okay? But let's just stick to this so that I don't confuse you with all the whole database tools. Now, if this is what we are using, all you need to do is this. You're going to see other downloads here, okay? And you're going to see the size, okay? Just click on this download. See that? When you click on download, it's going to show you something like this. Don't worry about this. Just say, no, thanks. Just start my download. Once you click on this, it's going to start downloading immediately. Okay? And it's a simple installation. Okay? It's a simple installation. Right? So you can go through it and you'll be fine. I've already done the installation. So I'll just click on this to open my MySQL Workbench so you can see what it looks like. So this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. Let me see. This is the previous one that I have. So let me see. Let me remove this so that it doesn't confuse anybody. So this is what it looks like if you are able to install it. Okay. This is what it looks like. So this is a terminal client. So we want to be able to connect to that database. So how do we do it? Very simple. I hope you all can hear me and you understand what's going on. Okay. Which is recommended? Honestly, is your choice. Either of them. This is more popular. This guy here is more popular. Okay. So for whichever one, most people prefer this. Most people prefer this. Whichever one works for you. I think there's another one called dbeaver, if I'm correct. dbeaver. Yeah. There's so many of them. So you can also check this one too. Okay. So whichever one excites you and you think, okay, it's more exciting, you can try it. Okay. So it's your choice. All right. So friends, I want us to observe what's going on, right? If you are able to install this and you get to this page, right? This is how to connect it. You're going to see my SQL connections here. Did you see that? Please click on this plus sign. And you're going to see this pop up. All right. Now it's asking you for the connection name. You can give it any name of your choice. Okay. So I can call it my example connection. Any name, or you can simply say school DB connection. Whichever name, as long as you understand that you can have several instances. Okay. Now don't worry about this connection method. Okay. Now the next thing you need to do is asking you for the host name. And this is the port by default, the username, and then the password. Okay, so let's come back to this page. So this is where we are. Is it not true? So this is the database, and the database is available. If you click on this, okay, you're going to see all this. Okay, you're going to see the connectivity and security, and it's going to show you something very important called endpoints. This is like the IP of the database. Okay, it's also called endpoints. Okay, endpoints or IP of the machine. Okay, so you can always use this. Now, this is the port. Okay, this is the extra information for this database. Okay, the security group and so on and so forth. Okay, you can pay attention to all the configuration you did. You can see monitoring. Okay, but you know, we disabled monitoring, so we are not going to see anything here invariably. Okay, so the same thing with logs, configuration, and other things that we have here. Okay, so we are good to go. So I'll just click on this. Is just extra information, but the monitoring is not enabled. This is just the barest minimum that CloudWatch can give us. Okay, all right. So any questions so far? I hope we are all good. Everybody understand what's going on. So please, the most important thing right now for us is this connectivity and security and configuration. Okay, this one and this one. So we need this endpoint. So I'll copy this Can you see? I clicked on this thing here, or you can just copy all of them. And when you come here, did you see where it's asking me for host name? Host name. You can remove all of this and paste it. Okay, let me expand this. Okay, I wish I can use Control++ to increase the size, but sadly, okay, let me see if I can use magnifier just so that you all can see it. Okay, good. So this is going to help anybody. Okay, so this is where I pasted it. You can move your cursor and you see this is the full thing I pasted here. I hope this is not confusing anybody. And you watch here, you see the port is 3306. All right, good. So I didn't touch anything. I just gave it a connection and I pasted this. Now it's asking me for the username. I know the username I use is admin. Okay. Now, but in case you forget about it, you can always come here. Now, can you see this configuration page? Click on configuration. Okay. And then you can see extra information. Okay. Can you see the master username is admin? And this is the password. I hope this makes sense to everybody. Okay, this is the username, this is the password. All right, let's come here. So it's asking me for the username. I'll come here, remove this root and type what? Admin. You see that? Now it's asking me for the password. Now it's not good for people to receive the password, so it stores it somewhere for us. Okay, you can always click on clear if you want to remove it. Okay, so if I click on store the password in Vault, it's going to show us something like this. Okay, so this way you type the password. So I remember typing the password somewhere. Okay, so I'll just come here and copy this password. Okay, so I'll come here and copy it, and then I'll paste this password. You see that? And I'll click OK. Now, that is all I need to do. You don't need to do any other extra thing. Okay, all you need to do is just connect it. Okay, let me reduce the font size of this so that we it doesn't distract any one of you. So, okay, good. So we've filled the information we need. If you check the bottom here, you're going to see test connection. Test connection. Okay. Now let's click on test connection. I'll minimize this. If you click on this, I know it's going to fail. Possibly. Once you click on test connection, you wait. Okay. Depending on, so it's trying to connect, see if it can connect to that database. I know why it's not connecting anyway, but if it fails, good. You see, it failed. So unable to connect to this. So can anybody tell me the reason why you think this thing failed? Let me see. Anybody? What do you think the reason is? Why do you think the database failed? Anybody? Anybody? Why do you think it failed? Can I get your feedbacks? Open ports. Mr. Patrick, you might clarify me. I don't want to give you a clue, but I'm not sure if you're correct, but just what do you mean by open port? Is that a problem or is what you want me to do? Which of them, please? I really want us to understand this, okay? Security group access. Okay, well, both of you are correct. So I want to believe that Mr. Patrick is telling me, okay, beautiful. So you guys are all correct, okay? We have not allowed public access. So not necessarily you've not allowed public access, right? Remember, first of all, that the port for the database is 3306. So right now, this is an external connection, okay? Remember, this workbench you are seeing here is my computer, but this database you see here is on AWS machine, okay? It's on the cloud. This database is on the cloud, all right? So how does my computer connect to AWS machine? If you remember, we did it in EC2. So it's the security group, okay? You all were correct, okay? So we need to go and open the port. I think that's what Mr. Patrick was also saying. We need to go and open the port. So I need to show you how to do it. So please pay rapt attention. is different from the one we did in EC2. It's almost similar, okay? But let me show you how to get where you can edit it. So if you watch here, right, you're going to see this is what we have here, okay? So, but there's something you need to take note here, connectivity and security. Click here. Can you see security? And can you see this VPC security group? This is the security group. Click on this, okay? So once you click on this, it's going to take you to where that security group is, all right? So now, if you select this, it's going to show you that security group, okay? So right now, what we need is the inbound rule. And you see that, yes, it allows all traffic, but there's still something we need to do. So just click on edit inbound rule, okay? Just click on add rule. Although when I started learning, I was wondering, why is it not allowing it even though we use all traffic? You understand? So, but for now, I think it's because of this security group also. But for the best I could come up with is that we need to also open that path. Okay, so just click here, all right, just like we did it yet in the previous class. Look for MySQL, which is this. Okay, look for this, and you're going to see 3306. Okay, that's all. So you can click here. Now, if I want to be the only person, I'll choose my IP. Okay, if I want other people to be able to connect, I'll choose this. I hope that makes sense. All right. So once I do that, that's all. I'll click on save rules. Okay. I hope you saw what I did, right? Good. So let's try and see if this guy can be able to connect again. So I'll click on test connection. Is it successful? Can you all see this connection was successful? Okay, good. So once I do click on OK, it's good. So I'll just click on OK. You see that? So this is the connection I just set up now. So you can either double click on it or right click on it and say open connection. I hope that makes sense to everybody. So you can click here and it's going to open the SQL editor so that we'll be able to interact with that database. So do you remember that we created a database when we were asking RDS to do it? So this is what the UI looks like. Friends, just look at the bottom here. There's something called schema. Just click on this. Can you see? This is the way it was before, right? Just click on this called schemas. Okay, you'll be able to see this. Can you see that database we created? Yes. So if you click on this, you see tables, views, and stored projects. Now, but because we are not going into all those deep things, the database engineering, so we'll just leave it here. Okay. Now, but if you come here and type something like show data bases, put a semicolon. Let me increase my fonts. Let me see if I can use. I want to see if I can increase the view here. This might be tiny for some of you. Okay, I may just have to use this magnifier right now. So, okay, good. So you all can see this now, right? So, okay, there's actually a magnifier here. So, but once you type show databases, select either you select it or just click any of this. So this is different than this. So this is if there is no selection. This one is if there is selection, wherever the keyboard cursor is. Okay, so if I click on this right now, it's going to run the command and it's going to show me the databases that we have. And you see the GUI. Okay, so we can see the database we have, and you can see this is school database. So if we want to use a database, we can come here and type the next line and say use database. Okay, type the name of the database we want to use. I want to use school database. You see that? School database, right? So if I come here and click on this, can you see? It has actually selected this one. Okay. Now, if I come here and do something like show tables, okay, and I click on now, if I each time I click on this, it runs all of them at the same time. Okay, but if I click on this, it's just going to run the particular section where the cursor is. But if I choose this, it's going to run every line. Can you see show tables? The table for that database is empty. Friends, is this making sense to everybody? These were the things we did in the last class. Can you all still remember? Any question? Any question from anybody? This is how to connect to the database. Any questions so far? Any question? So if we stop here today, we've done a great job. We've learned how to use RDS to create a database, right? We've learned how to connect to that database from the endpoint and the credentials that came with that database. So if any of you is practicing alongside with me and you want to also connect to my own database, it's possible. All I need to do is to send you my connection strings or my details, and you'll be able to connect to the database. You understand? Now, the interesting thing that you should see here is this. Now, while this is the GUI, do you know that if I wanted to use my own, let's say I want to use another client to connect this, I can do that. Let me show you something. If I come here, let's try it. I just want to try it and see. So if I come here and say, let's open a server. We need somewhere we have a terminal where we can install a terminal, because what we just use is a GUI client, okay? We just use Workbench, which is a GUI client. What if we want to use a terminal? Okay. Because of time, I would have done the WordPress, but let's just do this one. And if you all still want us to touch on the WordPress, then we will do that as fast as possible. So let's just do something here. Sudo apt update. It's updating the database, the operating system rather. Good. I'm going to clear. All right, so I'll type sudo apt install. I want to install something. MySQL-Client. Okay. So if I just do this, I put a -y and I click on install. It's going to install a client for me. Let's remove this. Good. I'll type clear. All right. Now, friends, see, this is how I'm going to try connecting it. If you remember what we taught you in the last class, MySQL-U -H and what -P. Friends, so if I want to connect to this RDS instance, okay? If I want to connect to the RDS instance, who can tell me how to connect to it? So we want the same way we connected using the GUI, and I want to connect to this database. How do I connect to this database here using this, what is it called? This MySQL client. Can anybody tell me the parameters to put here? The -U, what do I put there? Let me see. Anybody? Please, do you understand? Is it making sense? Yeah, -U is the username. So what's the username? What username should we use, please? If you understand. Beautiful, beautiful, great, great. Okay, but before I continue this, I want to ask you all, please. Today's session, if you understand, or if you don't, okay, well, even if I say you don't understand, it's because some of you would really love to practice, right? So for nouns, for some persons, it might not make sense until you practice. And by the time you start practicing, you'll be able to connect the dots, okay? But I want to believe that I've been able to break it down easily for you so you can be able to understand this, okay? So please do let me know. I do not want you to at any point to feel that your question will be silly or confusing. Do not hesitate to always drop your concern on the comment so that I can see it and respond to it, okay? please, friends, do let me know. I really, really, really want to engage with you. Thank you so much, Mr. Beaver. Okay, so I'll put under dash U, I'll say admin. So I can put a space and say admin. Now for the dash H, which is the host. Now, what do you think is the host? The host is going to be this, so that we don't waste time. It's going to be this endpoint. Okay, so I'll come here and paste it. Okay, that's the host. Now it's asked dash P is the password. Did you see that? So I'll just hit enter. So it's asking me for password. Do you still remember the password? This guy, right? So I'll come here, right click, and say copy. Right click, paste, and hit enter. We are in. So did you see the difference now? So this is the terminal section we are used to. I taught you in the last class. This one I showed you is the GUI. This is still the same thing, interacting with the databases. For every command you do here, you run it, you're going to see the results here. If I wanted to create a database, a table, all I need to do is to say W3 school. Okay, if I go to W3 school, I'm going to see how to create a simple table. Do you understand? Let's see, create a table. If I come here and I click on create table, did you see that? Now from here, if I pick this, so this is an example. If I come here, right click this, copy, and I come here. So inside here, now of course I need to type the databases we have. No, I was trying to show you, we did this in the last class. So this is the one I wanted to do. So if I come here, remove this and just paste this, right? This is what we have here. So if I run this command right now, can you see at the bottom, the result is at the bottom. Let's expand this. I'm trying to click and drag it. So can you see that line has executed? Did you see that? So if you want to now see what is in the table, you can come here and say show tables. You see that? So you can run this last one to run only that last one. Show tables. So can you see it has shown you the table? The table there's persons. I hope this is making sense to everybody. So if you want to insert record into the table, it's the same thing that I taught you all. You understand? It's the same thing. So I've shown you how you can do different kinds of things based on what you are practicing. So if this is what you want to use, you can say insert into. Now, but we won't use customers because our table is persons. So I can come here. Now, just so that you will see, I can do it over here. So you see what's going to happen. Show databases. So these are the databases. I will just use school DB, school database. Okay, good. Now, so I can come here and paste. Now, okay, so this is going to fail again. You know why? Because of the columns. I just remembered now the columns are different. I'll have to change the columns and then the table name. But ideally, you all get it. You understand? Once I'm able to update all those records, you see that the information is going to show inside that particular table. At least, this is how to create a database, and this is how to work with it. Please, does this make sense to everybody? Does this make sense to everybody so far? Do we still have time? Do you guys want us to touch the WordPress? Or do I give you guys as a task for next week? Do I give you as a task for next week so you go and research? Although, yeah, I think that would be the best option, but you can come here. I think there are different blogs on this. AWS has a blog on it. Deploy WordPress with Amazon RDS. Yeah, let me see. Configure. Let me see. There are different articles on it, so you can even try it here. So this is, can you see, this is a simple blog, right? And the instructions are here, step by step. The first step is what? Creating MySQL database with this, creating an EC2 instance, configuring your Amazon RDS database, configuring the WordPress on EC2, and then cleaning it up. So this is the modules. So just play around it. Let's see how many of you will be able to follow this material, play around it and practice it. Okay. Even though, can you see they put intermediate here, but I'm sure you can do it. You can do it. You understand? If you're able to do this, it really means that your skills are really, really improving and growing. Okay. So I'll just share this link to you all so you can practice it. I know we have about 20 something minutes left, but again, like I said, I don't want to keep the session too lengthy, but if you all still want to stay with me, I'll do it right here in front of you all. So, but we can do it this way such that if you try it, I'm going to be available from now till next weekend, right? So if you have any issues, just let us know, join the session and we can help you. Okay. So, yeah, I think this is a good place. But before I end the session, please, you need to come here. I encourage you to please delete this. I want to show you how to delete this database. Very, very important. Okay. If we are done with this database it created for us, how do we delete it? Okay. So I'll show you how to delete it. Okay. All you need to do, regardless of the number you see here, select the one you want to. Okay. If you're done, click on actions. Okay. You're going to see delete, reboot, stop, all these different things. Okay. So this is to connect it to an EC2 instance. Okay. But again, you can practice it. So, but we'll click on delete this. So we'll do many of these things during the intermediates. So, but I'll click on delete right now to delete this database. I'll click on this. Now, don't just go ahead and type delete me and click on this. Please be careful when you get to this point because this is not the same as S3. Can you see this? Create final snapshots. This is like trying to create a backup for you. And if you leave this box checked, it's going to create a backup of this database for you and it will be charging you. So please uncheck this thing and say, no, don't create any backup for me. So it's telling you, are you aware of what you are trying to do? Do you understand the consequences that this will no longer be available? You can type, yes, I acknowledge the consequences. I should be held 100% responsible for the outcome of this action. So you just come here and say, delete me. Okay. So you don't hold them, then you click on delete. See that? So if you wait for a few seconds or 2 minutes, depending on the speed, we should be able to delete it. And this is how AWS RDS works. Okay. So I would have given us another task on how to migrate a database. For instance, if you have a database and your application, maybe you have an application with your database on AWS EC2. How can you migrate it from an instance or from a virtual machine or from an on-prem? How do you migrate it to RDS? Those are different real-world use cases. Do you understand? Because somebody might say, okay, you know what? This database is becoming large. Okay, I've been managing it before on my machine, on my virtual machine. Okay, but I want to scale it. I want to start using AWS, Amazon RDS. How do I migrate it from my local machine to RDS? You understand? So it's also possible. Okay, so but we'll cover things like that during. It's not so complex, but we'll cover it during the intermediate. Okay, so yeah, I think we've done a good job so far. So it's still deleting this. You can click on this. Any questions so far, friends? Any question? Any question for me? Any question? Okay. I want to believe there's no question then. So today we stopped. We finished much earlier. All right. So okay, I think you guys will be able to do it then. Okay, so friends, thank you so much for joining today's session, and I'll see you all next 2 weeks. Not next week again, but next 2 weeks. Okay, Mr. Babatunde has a question for us. Okay, please go ahead. You can unmute yourself. Try and see if you can unmute yourself.
Good evening, Mr. Frederick. Can you hear me,
Hi,
sir?
good evening, and well. Yes, sir. Go ahead, please. Good evening.
Yes, I have a question. Just is my Linux, when I open Git sometimes and Ubuntu, there are sometimes that if I list out the like compartments of my, if I use ls and I check what is inside my, like, I think my user, the user on my particular, my GUI, the user, when I check my, my document and I go to document and I check the GUI and everything, I think it's different from what they show me. I don't know. I think I'm logged into another user. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. It seems because it doesn't show the same thing I check when I check the contents of my, when I check the content in the CLI, it doesn't show me what is in my GUI. I don't know if you understand my question.
Are you sure you're in the right folder or right directory? Well, if it's something you want to show us
Yes.
right there, you can share your screen and we can help you check. But if you think it's something you want us to do maybe tomorrow or any other time, so just, you can always drop, Miss
Okay.
Vivian is here. She can always help you and connect to your system and
Okay.
also help you sort it out. Okay. If now is not a
Okay.
good time,
All right.
whenever you can just get into our DM, she'll be able to connect to your system and help you sort it out. Okay. She's very, very good
All
at
right.
this.
Thank you.
Okay. Or if you have a screenshot, you can just send us a screenshot and we can just look at it and know if that's the problem and then just tell you the best answer for that. Okay, so if you just joined us and you joined late, we passed an announcement that we yeah, because we've earlier announced that there will be an intermediate session, right? So after this program, there will be an intermediate session for those who will be interested. So we want to make sure that everybody that is going through this one understands what's going on. So one of the primary reasons is we want to give people time to practice all the sessions we've had. Okay, so for that purpose, we took a poll and we had over all 18 persons as against 2 persons that said they want to take a break. So the poll is that throughout next week, there won't be any session. So we'll be going on a break, but I and Miss Vivian will be available on the Telegram. The Friday session is still going to hold, right? The Friday session is still going to hold. And this is only going to be for anybody who has issues. Okay. So you can, that's if you try my task and all the practice and you have issues, please feel free. Join Friday. So, but most people don't come with issues. Else I would have said, okay, no, our Friday should hold. But I mean, it's fine. We can still hold the session. And if you have any issues, yeah, we can help you resolve it. In fact, you don't have to wait till Friday, right? That's the thing. So if you have any technical issue, let Miss Vivian know, or just drop it on the channel. Either myself or any other person can help you fix it, or I can always share my screen. And share a link by 3 p.m. 3 p.m. If you're free, you can join this session and I'll use the 30 to 45 minutes or 1 hour that I have to help you resolve it. Okay. Okay, Mr. Roslan is a developer. Awesome. Good to hear. Okay, the intermediate training will for now, after we are done with this beginner, okay, the intermediate training will be starting will take about a week or two after the beginner, so that people can take time to practice or rest a little bit, okay? Because the intermediate is like entering a new gear. You understand? Entering a new gear, but trust me, it's still going to be hand holding. It's going to be hand holding. Okay. So, but I'm going to send the outline to those that will be applying, because one of the things we said is this: those interested in the intermediate should, if you want to pay the subsidized rate, which is 150,000 naira, if you want to pay the subsidized rate, it means you have to do so between today and 1st of October. Do you understand? Anything outside 1st of October, you're going to, it reverts back to the old amount, which is going to be 400,000 naira for 20 persons, right? If they are more than 20 persons, it's going to come down to 250,000. That's the cost for the intermediate cloud engineering training. Now, for the cybersecurity training that we intend to do with Skills Africa, yes, that will still it will be similar like this one we just did. Okay, the price might not be this hiked. Do you understand? So Mr. Abiola will announce it in due time for everybody so that you all get to know. Okay, that's for those interested in cybersecurity. But if you want to, you're interested in continuing this cloud engineering, so that's the intermediate we talked about. Okay, I hope that answers your questions, everybody. So the date will be announced, okay, to those that have applied for it. So whatever you feel, okay. Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Jafar. So Mr. Enoch, I hope I've answered your question for the cybersecurity. Okay. So friends, any more questions? Anybody with questions? Okay, I think somebody's hand, Jafar, go ahead, you can unmute yourself and ask your question if you have.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you very much for this section.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
3 o'clock,
I have
3 p.m.
posted.
Yes, 3 p.m. Sorry, Jafar, sorry. So 3 p.m. I'll try my best to always show up 3 p.m. for troubleshooting. So 3 p.m. I'll try my best to always be available. So if you have challenges at that time, you can always join the link and I'll help you to resolve your issue before my next class. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So that's if you cannot wait till Fridays. Okay. Right. That's what I mean. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Jafar.
Yeah, I said I have posted a suggestion already on the comment section, and I believe you've read it already.
Yes, I have.
Okay, and more so for some of us that are complete beginners, just as you have shown us how to create a blog post, make our article, and then also show our to completely continuously show our documentation. So I don't know if there would be maybe a short session for us to see how we can build our resume or a CV tailored to this particular profession or this particular track that we are taking. I think it will be also helpful to us.
Sorry, I didn't get that. I didn't get.
What I'm saying is, if there is a help you can give us on how we can create our resume.
Okay. I
For
think the
professional resume.
professionals. I'm going to leave that to the professionals, Mrs. Vivian and Mr. Chivabiola, right? So we'll still include some of those things, LinkedIn optimization and all those things towards the tail end of the program, especially for those who we are sure completed the program. You understand?
No.
Those we are sure that completed the program. So that might be the things we might just add to help them. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Thank
it.
you.
You're welcome, sir. Okay. All right, friends. I'm going to stop the recording right now since there's no more questions and all questions on the comments has been addressed. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining today's session. And do have a great week ahead. Right? Thank you.